Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to play bar chords. So bar chords are really cool because you can move them around. You can do just a couple of different shapes. There's an E major bar chord, it's like the E major open chord. And there's the A major shape. There's a couple of other shapes too, but in this one we'll just show you the E major and the A major and the E minor and the A minor. So the cool thing is you can play these all over the place. Like if you wanted to play C sharp, you can play C open chord, but how do you play C sharp? You move it up a half step? No, it doesn't sound good. So what you can do is instead use a bar chord for that. Play it C sharp, here's our C sharp, and just that. Okay, so once you know these chords, you can play whatever chord, sharp, flat, doesn't matter, major, minor, doesn't matter, anywhere on your guitar. Okay, now that we're zoomed in, let's take a look at how to actually play one of these bar chords. The first thing that you need to understand about bar chords is what a bar is. Now, this is probably the most difficult part about the bar chord because it takes a lot of finger strength, and here's what I mean. Let's say that I wanted to play a bar chord, a G major bar chord. Well, before I even mess with these fingers, let's just take a look at the index finger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to lay it across all 6 strings. You can see that really clearly. And then I'm going to put enough pressure so that I can fret every single one of these strings with one finger. This one. Watch. Okay, you can hear that every single string is ringing clearly. Now, this is the part that takes the hardest, is the hardest because it takes a lot of pressure. Okay, notice that I have my thumb, where I have my thumb, I kind of have it right behind my index finger, right here. Okay, about in the middle of my neck. When I do my bar chords, I'm up just a little bit from the center, kind of depending on the size and shape of your hand. You might want to be a little bit more towards center, maybe even a little bit more up here, but probably somewhere near the middle. So what I'm doing in effect is I'm pretending that my finger is actually the nut of the guitar, right here. We'll see that in just a second. Okay, so what do you do with the other 3 fingers? Well, these fingers can determine the quality of the chord, whether it's a major chord, a minor chord, a 7th chord, and then you also have to change the shape depending on where you play the bar chord. So I'm going to go through all that stuff. Okay, so let's go back to our open chord and let's play E major. So if you don't know E major, go back and check out the open chord lesson. But if you do know E major, it's just like that. Got my middle finger, ring finger, index finger, right there. Okay. That's a pretty nice sounding open chord. Now, if I wanted to change where this chord is, I could move it like, let's say, here. It doesn't sound so good, does it? Well, that's because the open strings don't fit with the chord when it's way up here. But what if I was able to somehow make this nut move? Well, I can do that with my bar. Because I can replay E major. Instead of playing it like this, I can just switch the fingers and use my ring finger, pinky, and middle finger to play the same notes. See that? This is the way you're supposed to play E major. What if I played it like that? Now my index finger is free to pretend to be the nut over here. So now when I move this up, my index finger's barring all of these, being the nut, and then I have my E major shape. Like that. So the way that I'm doing this is I'm barring those strings. Then I've got my ring finger, a whole step up basically. So that'd be the 5th fret. Then I've got my pinky finger on the next string down, and then my middle finger here. And I'm playing all the notes with this. I'm borrowing all the notes here. This is G major because just like power chords, whatever note the bottom note is that the tip of your index finger's on, that's the name of the chord. So this happens to be a G. this was an E open right here, so if I move this up, this is a G. So E, F, F sharp, G. This is now G major instead of E major. It's E major, move it up. Suddenly it's G major, move it up again. G sharp major, A major. So this is how you can play some chords like hideous chord like C sharp major. Okay, well if I play C, right, I can't just move it up a half step. That sounds awful, right? So instead of doing that, what I can do is I can play C sharp major right here. Like that. Okay, so I'll show you this one in just a second. Okay, so if we can do that with E major, we can also do it with A major. Okay, so here's A major. And remember, on A major, I don't want to play this string. This is going to be even more important when we do the bar chords. A major. Now, what if I switch to these fingers? All of a sudden, my index finger is free, isn't it? So it pretends to be the nut, and now I can slide it up. Same shape. Just slid up. And now I'm going to bar these strings right here. There's my C major, and then if I go up one more fret, I'm at C sharp major. Pretty cool, huh? And I can go to D major, D sharp, E, and so forth. You can play all the different chords. Okay, so let me show you how to do this one. We're going to be putting our index finger all the way across, except for the 6th string. Now, we don't really want that 6th string in there, like that, because we want it to have the root only. So just like on the power chords, what I'm doing is I'm taking and I'm barring all 5 of these strings, but then the tip of my finger, watch what happens to this string. If I pluck it, tip of my finger is going to just barely touch it and stop it. Stop it from ringing. Not stop it, stop it, but stop it from ringing. Muting it. Okay? So you want to get that index finger, the tip of it, to just touch that string so that it doesn't ring. Okay, the string is not ringing right now. Okay. Then I'm going to take my middle finger, 2 frets up, it's a little bit of a stretch, right there. Then I'm going to take my ring finger here, my pinky there, and that's my A shape. And then I'm going to play these. This one's a little bit more challenging because you have to get this finger over here. It tends to be a little bit more of a stretch in between these 2 fingers, so it's going to take a while for that stretch to develop. And you can check out my exercises on finger stretching exercises. And there it is. Okay. Another tricky thing is making sure that this finger doesn't kind of fall over this string and mute the high E string. Okay, because you want that note to ring here. Okay, you don't want it to. You want it to ring right there on your bar. Okay, you don't want it to go like that. Okay, that's also tricky. So now you know a major chord on the 6th string, that's G major, and you know a major bar chord on the 5th string. So if you know all the notes of the 5th string, you can easily play whatever chord. So let's say that the chord progression goes G, C, D, you can just play your G major form here. Then instead of playing C here, you can play it here. And then D, you just move up C, C sharp, D, right there. There it is, so you can play G, C, D. Or you can play G sharp, C sharp, D sharp. You can play B flat. You can play F sharp. You can play B flat over here. All kinds of things. So you can play all the different sharps and flat chords and not have to worry about what chord form that's going to look like, because all you need to know is these 2, and then figure out what the root note is. G, C, D, it's on this string, you use the E form. If it's on this string, you use the A form. Pretty cool. All right. The minor ones are very easy. Okay? So this one here is G major. To make it minor, all I have to do is lift up my middle finger. Like that, and all of a sudden it's minor. Because this note is the only third in the chord right here. That's the only third. So to make it a minor third, you just go there. It's a major third right now. There's your root. It's a major third, minor third. So to make that minor third, all I have to do is pick it up because this finger's barring from playing that note. G major, G minor, major, minor. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so on the A form, this note, the pinky, is the third. So what we need to do is drop it back to here. Okay. Our bar's here, though. I'm taking this one and moving it to there. So what we have to do is rearrange this chord. We actually make it look like the E form, like that. Okay, so notice that this note is dropping back to there. So I'm actually changing the way I'm playing the chord. I've got my ring finger on the fifth, that's the 5th fret right now. My pinky on the 5th, on the 3rd string, and then my middle on the 2nd string on the 4th fret. Like that. Major, minor, major, minor. So now we know that we can play any chord, sharp, flat, doesn't matter, with one of these two chord forms, whichever one's the most convenient. Okay, so like what I mean by the most convenient is if you want to play like G, C, D, you wouldn't want to go G and then skip all the way up here to C, and then D way up here. Okay? That's not super convenient. It would be more convenient to use the second form, the A form, play the C there, and the D here, like that. It'd be more convenient to do it that way. Okay, but now also you can play the minor chords. So you can play G minor. You can play C minor. You can play C sharp minor. You can play A sharp minor. B flat minor, A sharp minor, same thing. You can play D sharp minor. You can play B flat minor. You can play B flat major. So with these 4 forms, major, minor, that's the 6th string one, and then major, minor, the 5th string one, roots on the 5th string, roots on the 6th string on this one, 5th string on this one. With those two, you can play all the major chords anywhere that you want. With the addition of the minors, you can play major or minor chords of any type. So it's whether it's C sharp minor, D sharp minor, any type with these chords. That's what makes them so useful. They take a while to get, but you need to learn how to get them. The hardest part is getting the pressure needed to do this. So you just have to keep playing it, and eventually your hand will develop the strength. I always recommend whenever you're doing something that requires some strength that you not use any sort of like weird strength training device. They used to make these little things where it was like a bunch of little springs and you could push on it with your hands. I don't know if you've seen these before, but I don't recommend using any of those types of things. The best way to exercise your hand is to actually put your hand on an actual guitar and play the actual notes that you're trying to play, and then that will exercise your hand. So if you want to build strength on these, play them. That's all you have to do. Eventually, a few weeks, a couple weeks, depending on how much you practice, maybe a week, they'll start sounding a lot more clear. And don't forget to mute this string on your 5th string bar chord, on your A form bar chord. Okay, I'm not fretting that. I'm muting it. Okay. All right, I'll do the 7th chords in another video, but those are the major and minor bar chords.